Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. You caught me just moving screens around. Um, good morning. Let's see. How's everybody doing today? This is going to be a really fun one. And yeah, so let's get it started. First off, it's morning for me, but you might not be coming in the morning. So let me know where you're coming in from. I know some of you are kind of global, right? Some of you are coming in maybe in your evening. Actually, maybe afternoons, but welcome everybody. My name is Chris Sev. I am a developer advocate here at DigitalOcean, and today we're talking about a topic that I think a lot of us want to learn but never really got around to learning, and that is Vue. What's up, Jimmy B? What's up, Shamal? Anish from Nepal. Welcome everybody. Nepal, awesome. I don't know if that's the first Nepalian we've had. What's up, Terrestrial Origin? Love Cash, welcome back, as always. Good evening, Ayhan from Berlin. Tomas from Czech. Hello from Switzerland. Awesome, welcome everybody. Cody from Colorado. Oh, another Nepal. Awesome. Ontario. James, what's up? Welcome. Welcome everybody. India, Amarjeet. James is Canada. Narav is Canada. Welcome. I'm over in, I guess I didn't tell you all, I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, the city of lights and casinos. And no, I don't live in a casino. I'm actually like 15, 20 minutes away from all of that. But I grew up here. Love it here. Let's see. Jose from Spain. Alan from the Philippines. Hey, I'm Filipino. Salison, welcome. Cigar, good evening. Awesome. Well, while we're also in chat, let me know if you are, because this is kind of important for working with Vue. Are you a pure JavaScript developer? Have you used any of the other frameworks or libraries like React or Angular? Let me know in the chat. It'll kind of adjust how we talk about Vue.js today. Enio from Brazil, what's up? I got you, Steven. I'm going to run down there. We actually have an app now where we can do all that from an app. Leonardo from Chile, welcome. Well, I'm seeing Nicholas over on Facebook. What's up? All right, Alan has used React and React Native. Salison has used a bit of Vue. Need a refresher. Derry has used Angular, but not Vue. So I am actually a Google developer expert in Angular, and going over to Vue is really, really nice. Kim over on Twitch, welcome. Hello, good to see you. Look at this chat. This is fantastic. This is giving me the energy to wake up this morning. I was a little sluggish, but Timo on Angular, welcome. All right. Well, one thing that I think is really fun to talk about is Vue.js. A lot of people are wondering, is it going to be as large scale as React? Can we use it in production level applications? Well, here, Rahul has used Vue, Steven mostly Drupal, small React. Ayhan went from MooTools and jQuery, Angular, Vue, React. Awesome. So the Hacktoberfest website, which is here, it's October, the 6th now. We are getting into Hacktoberfest, and I just want to let you know that Hacktoberfest, the website itself, is built on Vue.js, and it is handling the traffic fantastically. It's actually built on Nuxt.js, which is a Vue framework. So it's a framework on top of a framework on top of JavaScript. Alan, are we diving for Vue 3? So there's an interesting time right now with Vue.js. We are, Vue 2 is kind of what you see if you are on the vuejs.org website. And then Vue 3 is also out, which they say is stable, but Vue 3, they say the ecosystem, like the router and all the other things, aren't fully ready. So which one do we use? I actually have trouble answering that myself, but the cool thing about it is Vue 2 and Vue 3, the differences you can use Vue 2 code, go up to Vue 3, and it would work. There's very little differences between the two. Vue 3 just gives you a little bit more functionality for certain scenarios. All right, so thank you everyone for jumping in chat and letting me know. This is going to be a really fun one. So today, let's jump into Vue.js, the progressive JavaScript framework. And the reason they call it the progressive JavaScript framework is because it can go from as little as you need, just like the JavaScript components, all the way up to a full-size framework for bringing in a router, state management, giant components, all that good stuff. But yeah, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk through Vue.js, do a refresher if you have already used Vue but need to jump in, or if you're new to Vue, you'll see why I think Vue is really, really cool and why we chose it for the Hacktoberfest website. So why Vue.js? Let's see what this is. Oh, that's a video. We don't want that. You're watching a video. So let's get started with one of the first things that I like to do. So let's say we have a brand new code pen, and let me go grab this for you. Let's see. Sorry, I have like way too many tabs open over here on the side. Let me grab the right one. All right, so here, let's do that. Okay, so this is a Vue application. And if you aren't familiar with Vue, it's a little different than just plain JavaScript. So if I have this counter right here, classic counter example, we have a counter, we have this way to bind a variable into our template, and then in our JavaScript, let me show you what the Vue application looks like. So right here, we have a counter, which is an object, and then we say, hey, bind this counter into this counter div. So this is the start of a very basic Vue.js application, and if I just said, hey, counter is going to be 5, check this out, that changes out to be 5. So Vue is going to store the data for us, and then it will display the data within these little brackets. And you might be wondering, Chris, that isn't so great. What's the benefit of doing it this way? Well, let me show you what this would look like. So we added a button here. So we're able to display data. The next step in most JavaScript applications is to listen for an event from the user. So let's say add 1 is our new button that we have. So to listen for this button, Vue comes with some cool things called directives. We can say v on click, and then we're going to tell it to do something. We can say increment. So once we have that, this won't really do anything because increment isn't defined. This function isn't defined. So we can go down here into our JavaScript now. Let me zoom out a little bit. Here's data. Here are methods. And I'm going to call this increment. And we're going to say this dot counter is equal to this dot counter plus 1. All right, let's see if this works. If I click there, notice how it automatically adds up like that. So this is kind of the starter example for any JavaScript application, really, right? Like you're displaying data, and then you are listening for a user event, this click, and then you're going to act on that and update our template. Any questions on that so far? I know there's a lot of syntax happening here, but if you get down to it, the cool thing about a Vue.js component is that it's a couple different parts. It's data and methods. So data is going to be any of the data that you want to show. Methods are going to be any of the functions that are going to update your data, or like you can go fetch information from an API. You could update your API. There are a couple other things like lifecycle methods, but I don't want to get into those just yet. I just want to do a little bit more with the starter Vue application. Mr. Demon Wolf over on Twitch says, magic. We can also talk a little bit more about magic if we do something like this. So this is kind of one of the examples where I like to show off where this is where I first looked at Vue or Angular or React and said, oh my gosh, is this magic? So here under our methods, let's delete our methods. We don't need them right now. Here is our data. And then let me go ahead and say return counter is 5. I'm going to say message is, hey there, let's do Asan over in chat. And I'm going to put an input here, and we're going to say v bind. We're going to do, actually, let's do this, and then let's do the message. So we're showing our message here, which should show up right there. Hey there, Asan. And then here, what's cool about this is we can bind that variable to this input and listen for the changes on that input using what's called vModel. And we're going to say message. Now this is kind of where it gets really fun. We're going to say right there, now I can say, okay, well, let's change this out to Alan. And look how fast that was, just updating our template immediately. Hey there, I got Mr. Demon Wolf over on Twitch. What's up? vModel is magic. So, and one thing that I want to point out is, I know this feels like magic, but let me open up a brand new code pen. Let's talk about that counter. No, let's talk about the input example. So we have an input right here, right? To do this in JavaScript, we would have to say, step 1, get all of the things are DOM elements. Step 2, listen for events on elements. Step 3 would be to update our template with new information. And that's really a JavaScript application, right? You're showing information, you're grabbing it, you're listening for user information, like click events, like typing on something, and then you're re-updating your HTML or your DOM. So here, let's try this. Const input is equal to document.querySelector. And already, look how much I'm writing. Listen for events, input.add event listener. Oh, no, that should be input or change. Let's do the change event. Let's pull the event out of there. And then we're going to say, we're going to move this into there. And then we need a div for the ID as message. Look at this. We're already writing so much. Way too much. And then we're going to say message.innerHTML is equal, let's do inner text, is equal to e.target.value. Is that even going to work? Let's see. It did not work. And that's okay. Now we have to debug it, but I don't want to waste your time with that, right? We're doing this in Vue, so you probably all can see what I did wrong. But here, the thing that Vue gets rid of, and the whole reason I did all of that, is that you don't have to update your DOM yourself. Vue does it automatically for you. So we didn't have to say, hey, go update message in template. Just doing this with the double brackets does it for us. Mr. Demon Wolf says Vue does more with less code, and that's very true, and that's why a lot of people are using Vue. Can Vue be used with WordPress by Philip? Yes, it definitely can. Vue can be used on top of anything that generates HTML for you. You can just add on extra JavaScript functionality. So anywhere JavaScript can be used, really, is anywhere JavaScript can be used, you can use Vue. And CY says input variable, I think, returns an array. Probably. And we could console log and figure that out, but it's all good. All right, so we are able to display information with that. We are able to listen for an event v on click is equal to change message. Oh, sorry, that's a button. What happened there? That was weird. Okay, so there's a button here. What is it doing? All right, change message. And I'm going to change this to that. Let's see, Mr. Demon Wolf says you can make WordPress into headless mode. Oh, wrong one. And then use it with Vue to go get your data so that you can generate a website. So yes, WordPress has its headless API, headless REST, what is it called? Headless REST API, where you can generate like these new Jamstack style websites with WordPress and Vue. Closing tag on the button. Thanks, Quentin. It's CodePen was doing weird stuff. So let's talk about methods, which is an object, and then we're going to say change messages here, and we're going to say return. Well, we don't need a return. We can say this.message is equal to, hey there, let's do Quentin. So now if I press this button, it should call this on click event handler. It should go down here into our methods and use this change message. And then this.message is going to reference our data and then update our data. So if I click that, it automatically updates our data. So I hope just that alone, just seeing how you can handle events and update data, and Vue just handles the update for us, does really nicely. All right, let me see what else we can talk about as far as templating goes. And then we're going to go from here. We're going to talk about templating, and then we're going to talk about full-size Vue applications, single-page apps, and we're going to use some of Vue's tools to build out something a little bit bigger than just a CodePen app. And then there was a question up earlier about getting data and syncing data. We'll talk about doing that as well later on in this talk. Alhiane, we're not talking about the composition API just yet. We're doing getting started with Vue, but we can definitely do another tech talk on that topic. So one other thing I want to talk about is in templating, we have the ability to display text, display a number. We also have the ability to loop over information. So if I delete all of this here, sorry, I know it's cramped. There we go. Let's delete all of that. Let's say we had a list of people, and that's going to be an array of strings. Let's say Alhiane, we have Jishan. Let's see, who else do we have? Let's see. Sebastian is up there. Okay, so if we wanted to loop over this, we can't do what we did before where we had like this, people. We actually have to do a little bit more since it's an array. Well, I guess we can. It just coerces it into a giant string. But what we can do here is we can say div. Actually, let's do a UL. Close that UL. And we can say v4 person in people. And then we can go li people. Oh, sorry, person. And there we go. So now we are able to loop in Vue. So the thing about learning Vue is there's going to be a learning curve to every tool that you use, right? Like React, you're going to have a learning curve, arguably a bigger learning curve than Vue. In Vue, the things that you have to learn are these directives that they call them, which are things that you attach to HTML to affect that HTML. So we have v4, we saw earlier, we saw button V dash on, and then you can use any of the DOM elements DOM events like click. You could use things like change. You could do mouse over. And I want to show you this. There's a terrestrial origin says it seems like an Angular clone. And let me see, button is here. On mouse over, then you do something. There is actually a shorthand. So if you come from Angular version 2 and above, you'll know that if you want to handle an event, you use the @ like that. That actually is valid in Vue.js as well. So this @ mouse over means, hey, I'm listening for the mouse over event, and I actually always use the @ instead of the v-on syntax. I think it's a little bit cooler. And surprisingly, that is valid HTML. Weird. It feels like a lot like AngularJS. Yes, I totally agree with that. And I think they took a lot of inspiration from there, but I think they kept it closer to AngularJS, whereas Angular did like a little bit of extra stuff. Good evening, Shamal. Welcome. All the way from Iraq. Welcome. Yeah, so Evan Yu, fantastic follow on Twitter, the creator of Vue.js, does really great job at, I don't know, everything. So we talked about using Vue inside of a code pen, which is where we are right now. But all we're doing is saying, hey, here's some HTML. Let's mount into a certain div. I want to take this a step further and build out a larger single page application similar to what we did for Hacktoberfest. So to do this, we are going to use the Vue CLI. So the CLI is the tool to build giant or small Vue.js applications. So to get this running, I'm going to go into my terminal. Where's my terminal? I put all of my projects in this folder called Batcave. So here we are. We're going to do Vue create hello-world. And now check this out. Let me zoom in for you all. There we go. So the Vue CLI is kind of cool because it gives you the options up front and it says, hey, do you want Vue 2 or Vue 3? I'm going to go with Vue 2. Really, we're not using anything different. So all of the code you see today will be the exact same in Vue 2 and Vue 3. So I'm going to go Vue 2. I'm going to use npm, not yarn. It spins this up for me. And while we're waiting, what's up, Razzle from Turkey? Welcome, welcome. Turkey, that's awesome. So while we're waiting for this, I want to answer probably one of the important questions that you are going to have. Do I use Vue or React? So I want to open that with, it depends. Everything is, it depends. But it depends on your team and yourself. If you are somebody a little bit more on the design side where you work more with HTML and CSS, you're probably going to enjoy Vue.js more. If you are somebody that uses JavaScript and comes from a little bit more of the JavaScript background and less on the design HTML, CSS side, then you're probably going to enjoy React more. And I'll show you exactly what I mean by that in a second once this finishes spinning up. I promise I have a fast computer. It's all that downloads from NPM it has to do. Okay, so now that we're here, we have hello world. We can cd into hello world, and then we can npm run serve. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open this up in VS Code first. What's up, Eben from Bangladesh? Welcome, welcome. All right, so here is a Vue.js project created by the CLI. Everything's moving so slow today. Come on. Okay, so this is a project that is created by the Vue CLI. And if I go into the source folder, which is where you're going to do all of your work, if you look at main.js, we see something very similar to what we had in the CodePen. Really, we're building one giant Vue application, and we're saying, hey, mount yourself to the app div. And if you want to see the app div, I'm going to go into public index.html. It has all of this stuff right here, and then div ID is app. So when you look at this in a browser, it's going to start like this, and then Vue is going to inject everything into this div. What's up, Hermil? What's up, Munde? Quentin says, starting in graphic design, move to development, and Vue is more intuitive. Definitely, definitely. So let me go show you what a Vue.js component looks like. And this is why I say that if you are more of a fan of HTML, CSS, you're going to like Vue. If you are a JavaScript fan, you're going to like React. Although both are interchangeable, really. Once you start learning one, you can really switch over to the other pretty quickly. So this is a Vue.js component, is a single file, and a lot of people like it because a component is all from a single file. You have your template in these template tags. If we scroll down, you have your JavaScript in the script tag. And then if you scroll down even further, you have your styles right here. So all of your single component is all directly inside of one file. So if you do have some maybe developers on your team, you can say, hey, you just work in the header component and you own the header component, work in there, and then we'll just merge up so you know that, hey, that person stays in that one file for this maybe PR. It makes it really good to organize our stuff. Let's see, what's the difference? Mount and element. Are you talking about the CodePen that I had open? Duke, I'm not sure where we're talking about, but yeah, this is just generated from, let me disable git lens. That's getting annoying. Okay, so very smooth transition from Vue to Flask as well. Awesome. I haven't used Flask myself. Okay, so let me show you a little bit more. Oh, I see what you're saying, Duke. So Duke, that is a different way to mount a Vue application. I believe, and definitely check the docs, but I believe that that syntax is more for just when you want to do one single component, and it's a little bit faster than the whole mount way of doing things. But I believe they get the job done the exact same. Massier, or is it Matche? My theme is, I am on Bearded Theme Arc EOL Storm. Eben with a great question. I worked with React mostly. I don't have much experience in Vue. I have heard that Vue is hard to maintain in a large-scale application. Is that true? I don't think it's true. I think the Vue, maybe it was true a while ago. Currently, the Vue kind of developer experience has gotten a lot better. Yeah, I would say no. I think it's fine in large-scale applications, especially with Vue 3, where you have the ability to kind of pull out common functionality using the composition API. Hermil says, is there Vue for mobile development like React Native or React? I actually am not 100% on that. I know you could use something like Ionic, but yeah, I don't know if there's like a Vue native or anything. Let's see. Tomas, what do you opposite? Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, so let's spin this up and let's see what goes on here. So I'm going to go npm run serve. So this is going to start up our Vue.js application. We're seeing it at localhost 8080. Let me bring that up here. And this is our brand new Vue application. Sendekia says native script can use Vue and React Native. Yep. Awesome. Okay, so let's split this out right here. I'm going to shrink that. I'll hide that. I'm going to push this over here. Christian, I believe that's a good question because we use the Vue CLI package.json, and the Vue CLI actually brings in 2.6. So no composition API right now. All right, so let's do what we did earlier. We have our div. Let's just delete that. Now this is going to break because we have components, and we'll talk about nested components in a second. And now let's do data, return. Welcome to your Vue.js app. Okay, I'm using GitHub Copilot, and it's like doing a bunch of stuff for me. Okay, so here we are. Now we can show this up here. We can say message. And that should work as well. Welcome to your Vue.js app. So let's talk a little bit further about Vue components. We have one right here. Let's go ahead and create a brand new Vue component, and then we'll use it in this application. So if I go over here, I have a components folder. Let's see, what can we do with a... Let's create a new one, and we're going to call it... I'm running out of ideas here. We'll just call it... I don't want to do a counter again. Anybody got ideas? Let's see. All the hello worlds in the world. I'm running out of examples. To-do list. Okay, so let's call it list.vue. And then we'll adjust it. Okay, so let's start a brand new Vue component. I'll write on something here. So let's do template. So we're going to start our template here. We're going to say div, and we're going to say list goes here. Sendekia says Pokemon list. I am all in. Let's do it. So we have our template here. And the cool thing about this is a Vue component can just be the template. So let's go import this into app.vue. I'm going to say import list from components / list. And then to register a component in Vue, you're going to go here and say components list. We still have an error. It says, hey, the list component has been registered but not used. So we go up here, and to use it, we just go like this. And the list goes here. So we have just successfully created and imported our first Vue component. So let's go work in this list.vue now. So now we are here. Question about that import plugin. I actually think it's built into VS Code now. I don't have an extension for it. Here, so we have our script, we have our template. Now let's add in our JavaScript. All right, this is getting out of hand. And to start the JavaScript for this Vue component, export default, just an object is fine. We're going to have data. Let's say Pokemon is an array. And let's do a couple. So let's do Pikachu, Raichu, Eevee. All right, what's this error here? It says parsing error. What does it want? No comma. Oh, sorry, I have to return the object. Cool. So as we did earlier, let's display this list. We're going to go up here. We're going to say UL, and we're going to say v4 Pokemon in Pokemon. Oh, man. Okay. So let's actually change this to Pokemons, and we'll say Pokemon in Pokemons, and then we'll display a single Pokemon like that. And the cool thing about Vue, there's a question about like Vue for large scale apps. They've gotten really good at their developer tooling. And what I mean by that is they're really good at telling you when you messed up. So here, elements in iteration expect to have a vbind key directive. So when you loop over something in Vue, you need to give it a key. So we're going to say vbind key is equal to Pokemon. And this needs to be unique for every item in the list. This is for, this is how Vue knows what to update, makes it efficient, so that it can only update the things that need to be updated. The v4, a little cursive. Yeah, it depends on the font you have. I'm using operator mono right now. Other great ones are Cascadia Code. And Christian brings up a good point. So remember how we had a shorthand for the button? Like when we said button V on click, there was a shorthand for the V on like this. The shorthand for vbind is just colon. So now our template gets a little bit cooler. Let's see, we had something else? No. Elements in iteration. Oh, I did that wrong, right? So this needs to be on here. And this is actually the li. There we go. Thanks, Christian and Tomas. Tomas, you're right on the money. We're actually about to do that. I didn't want to jump into props yet. Can we get an index for v4? Yes, I believe it's index first Pokemon. Nope, I did it backwards. So it's Pokemon first, then your index. Did I do that wrong again? There it is. Okay. So it's Pokemon, then index, just like that. For Sudipto. That's how you get the index. But recommended if you have some sort of unique identifier across each item, use that. All right, so there we have a little bit of templating. We have our component. We have the ability to take this component and import it and use it in another component. So we now have a parent to child component. Let's see. Let's go ahead and add an item to this list. So I'm going to go here, and let's go here and say methods. I'm using GitHub Copilot, which is like the AI coder, and it wrote exactly what I wanted to write. So I'm not going to do it though. We're going to have a method called add Pokemon. And to add a Pokemon, GitHub Copilot did it for us. I'm going to press tab. It's going to say this.Pokemons, which is this array right here. We're going to push Bulbasaur onto the array. And up here now we can add a button that says at click add Pokemon. Okay, so if we press this button, it should call this thing down here, add Pokemon, and then it will push, which will add to that array. And then Vue will say, okay, the data changed. I'm going to go ahead and update our template. So Add Pokemon, and there we go. Baruz, what's up? Welcome. Something here. Yeah, AI extensions for VS Code are getting way better. Maybe getting too good. So here we go. And that's how we can affect the data if it was an array. So really a lot of this stuff down here is just JavaScript. And that's why Vue is cool. You can kind of just stick to JavaScript. There's nothing fancy down here. Let's see. What's the name of the AI package? It is GitHub Copilot. And I think they're still in beta, so you have to get an invite. Just add your email to the list and they'll get you. Christian, am I the Tailwind guy? Yeah, I'm the Tailwind guy. I love Tailwind. Duke says, is the default and export default a magic name? In JavaScript, it is the way that it's a JavaScript reserved word. So it just says, hey, when you look at this file JavaScript, know that I'm exporting this object as the default, as the main thing to export. Perfect. So where are we at? 8:40. So we got about 20 more minutes. What I would like to do is something that, who said it? Did Christian say it? Where we talked about moving a lot of this stuff up higher to a parent component and then passing it down to a component called list. And you might be thinking, Chris, what are you saying? Let's go ahead and move all of this out. And let's do a little bit of magic movement. So what I want to do here is if I'm an app, this list, maybe we want to do a couple of them. So let's just do that, right? So check that out. Immediately we can reuse that component and now we have the functionality all across the board. Yeah, I agree, Christian. I'll get to it in a second. Thanks. Jose, where's my mistake? Cool. So let's say we wanted to have a couple lists, but instead of the list, that's always a mistake. Charizard's overpowered. But you're right. Let's add it. Okay, so what I want to do next is move from each list has the Pokemon in it. So what if I wanted to show different Pokemon per list? Well, let's delete all of this stuff right here. And instead of getting Pokemon from this component, I want to get it from a higher level component and pass it down. So let's do some wishful coding. Let's do this. Pokemon is equal to, sorry, I'm going to pass in this like this and say Charizard. Well, let's do Charmander. Oh, I'm forgetting that second one. What was the second one? Charmeleon? Pokemon. Let's do Squirtle and Blastoise. I only know the first 100. That's like the time I played Pokemon. Baruz, we're doing it for you, buddy. Okay, so we are passing in Pokemon to the list. Thank you, Jose. Charmeleon. We're passing Pokemon to the list, but how does the list component know about what we're giving it? So we can go down here, and we can say props, and prop is going to be Pokemon. I forgot I called it S. Pokemons. So instead of doing all the logic in this component, we're saying, hey, we're looking for a parent component to pass down the Pokemon. W3, you're absolutely right. It should be Pokemon, but I'm going to go up and change these to Pokemons. So confusing. I'm sorry. Christian, thank you so much. Have a good day. The comments are the fun part. Okay, so now we have Pokemons from a parent component. And we're passing it down, But why is it doing this? So it's actually, oh, I know what it's doing. Okay, so here we're passing it as a string, but we want Vue to say, hey, that's actually JavaScript. That's an array. So we have to do this bind, vbind, like that. And we'll do the same here. But remember, we have the shorthand for it, so we can actually delete vbind on both of these, like that. So we have a list of these three and then a list of these three. Quasar, you are absolutely right. I'm losing my voice. Yes, we had to do the bind. So once we have bound it, Vue will actually say, oh, now I will evaluate this as JavaScript. So that is now an array. Thank you, everybody in chat. Cool. So now we have the ability to have two components. I'm going to drop Charmeleon because it's too long. So now we have the ability to pass down information to each of our components. And now we can just do this multiple times and check that out. We have the ability to do that. So the last thing I want to do here, and I hope this was kind of a good intro into Vue.js of seeing how you can do a lot of the stuff like binding information, passing props down to multiple components. What I want to do here is get a little bit more data. We're going to go get information about Pokemon from an API, and then we're going to pass it down to this list component. Baruz, yes, this will be saved on YouTube and stay here on the DigitalOcean YouTube channel. So if you do like this video, please like and subscribe. Lets us know to keep doing these. And yeah, I saw it earlier. We should do a Svelte one. Let's see, Tomas with a very good question. Sometimes I have, where is that question? Sometimes I have some problems with reactivity. Why is something array index equals something not reactive, but view.set is reactive? And that's actually a very good question. So let's say we had this list of Pokemon right here. If we wanted to update one, you couldn't just do down here. Let's bring in methods. And let's say add Pokemon, or let's say change Pokemon. And we would have index. Sometimes if you did this dot Pokemon's index is equal to Bulbasaur, so that tries to change the Pokemon at that specific index, it won't work because Vue, for it to understand reactivity, Vue doesn't try to compare the array elements to the new array elements. What it tries to do is try to be as efficient as possible. So what it's saying is if you changed an element in the array, it didn't know that you changed the element because it says, oh, that's the same exact, overall the array is the same. So let me actually adjust this. I'm going to give this, I'm going to move Pokemons down here. And we're going to pass in Pokemons like that. Should still work. It does. So if I try to change this one, this dot Pokemons, let's say the first one becomes Bulbasaur, it's still the same exact array. Only the elements inside of it change. So Vue says, I didn't know it's a different array. It looks the exact same because it just checks overall array reference. To do view.set, it actually tells Vue, hey, this is a brand new array. You need to update it. Another way to do this update is to do it like this. This.Pokemons is equal to a brand new array. Sorry, a good way to do this is to say const new Pokemons is equal to this.Pokemons. So now you are 100% forcing a brand new array. And then you say this dot Pokemons, well, sorry, new Pokemons dot index is equal to Pikachu, and then you set this dot Pokemons equals new. So that's one way to avoid that. Correct, Duke. That's a very quick way. That's the best way to say the long-winded version that I just said. Perfect. Okay, so let's go get data from an API. We have 10 minutes left. Let's go do this. I'm going to use the Poke API. And then let's just go get, not that one. I want Pokemon. Let's do limit of 5, no offset. Submit that. Okay, so this is our URL. And let me just show you what this looks like in a browser. We get this object from our API. So if I go back to Vue and I go here, we're going to say get Pokemon. We're going to say fetch. Let's do an async. We're cool, right? Const res is equal to await fetch. And I'm going to do that right there. Const data is equal to await res.json. And then we're going to say this dot Pokemons is equal to data.results. Data.results right here. Baruz with the question, can Livewire replace Vue? I believe it can. You just have to be more familiar with Blade components than if you were familiar with Vue components. But yes. Okay, so we're getting all this data, but we're not running it, right? Nothing's happening. We have to actually go run this. So to do that, we are going to use something we haven't talked about yet called lifecycle methods. And to do something when a Vue component is created, you just go mounted, this dot get Pokemon. So now if we go over here, we have a full object getting passed through. We went and grabbed data. We passed data down into our component. And now we have to adjust our child component, this one right here. So we have to go into list. And instead of Pokemon, we have to say Pokemon.name because it's now an object. And there we go. So look how easy that was to go grab data from an API, bind it to our template, and then show it in a list. Adedoyan, we're doing Vue 2 right now, but all of this code will work in Vue 3. Vue 3 brings in something fun called the composition API, and we can actually do a whole new talk on that in the future and why they made that big switch. I think it's actually really cool. Thanks, Cody. Thanks, Jimmy. Cool. So we have the ability to do a lot of this stuff. I know there's a lot happening in the hour that we've been together. But yeah, we have the ability to go get data from an API. We are saying, hey, when you are mounted, go get the data. And then we are binding to the Pokemon's variable there. And then we go in and pass it to that list component that we created. So you can see that a lot of this stuff is all in one file, which makes it really easy if you are familiar with HTML. And something we didn't talk about is your styles are down here, and it's just CSS. What's cool too is if you wanted styles per component, you could say, hey, I only want these styles to apply to this template up here. Let me hide that real quick. This template up here, you could go down here and say scoped. And now that will only work for this template. And if you wanted to work with Sass, you just have to do lang equals Sass, and now you have that ability as well. And that's how easy that was. yeah, one last thing I wanted to talk about that we didn't get to talk about really is another reason why Vue is really good for people that maybe are more HTML, CSS leaning is they have a really cool tool called the Vue UI. So I press enter there, it's going to start the UI, and this is how you can manage projects. So if I go to create a project, let's import the project we just made, which is Hello World. You can work with your entire Vue project from this dashboard. So you can talk about plugins you can add, you can talk about tasks you can run serve from here, and I can run the task. So the Vue UI is really good for people that maybe on your team, they're not 100% familiar with the command line. You can just tell them to use the Vue UI. Oh, a lot happened really quickly. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that. We're coming up on the end of this, about 5 more minutes. So if you do have any questions or requests, let me know. Again, the Hacktoberfest site is everything we talked about today, components, data, going to get data. All of that is how we built the Hacktoberfest website. Giancarlo from Peru, what's up? Welcome. Jose, get good. It's like the second time I heard that today. Is there any reason to shy away from these React Vue frameworks? Do you lose anything by adopting one of them or sticking to vanilla JS? So the cool thing about Vue and React, I feel like they've done a great job at sticking to vanilla JS. Like if you look at our code here, all of this is really JavaScript. We have objects, we have arrays, we have JavaScript's fetch. It's JavaScript. So for us to turn this into a React component is not much work. For us to turn this into vanilla JavaScript is a little bit more work, but the code stays similar. The question, though, is do we lose anything by adopting them? I think maybe you have to stay up to date on like maybe hiring Vue developers or hiring React developers, but what you gain is your code is far more organized. Like this, if you got dropped into a Vue.js application, you would know, hey, there's going to be a template, and then that template is going to be attached to some JavaScript, where I'm going to see my components, I'm going to see my data, and I'm going to see my methods. If you jumped into a JavaScript application that did the exact same thing, there's 1,000 ways to organize that, so you wouldn't know. So what we gain is organization, developer tooling. You saw how many times it caught errors for me. A lot of really good things you gain by jumping to React, Vue, Next, all that good stuff. Peter Dickton, TypeScript and Vue. I haven't done TypeScript and Vue. I actually am not entirely sure what that setup looks like. I'm more on the React and TypeScript side, but I'm sure the docs have something on there. Could I explain Git and Laravel in the next session? Ooh, that's a good one. Definitely can do that. Next session, Jose, for me is, I believe, 2 weeks. Yeah, there we go. It's in chat. I am doing full stack apps. Is that right? Full stack JavaScript apps. So we're going to take a little bit of what we learned today and go a little bit further. Cody, actually, this is a fantastic question to talk about. No, not that one. This one. Hit to performance of size or page served. It can be. So definitely you have to be aware of what you're doing in your app in Vue and React. Definitely use tools like Lighthouse to double check that you're not bringing in packages that are too large, that you're not being unorganized. You do have to do a little bit more work for performance, but I think you have to do that work no matter what, right? Quentin, thanks for saying that. glad to have you here. That's awesome. Yeah, I've been using DigitalOcean since before I came to DO, maybe like 7 or 8 years now. What's up, Mason? Mason is my coworker, another developer advocate here. Welcome, welcome. Mason came in right at the end. Right at the end. Here we are, coming up on the hour. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Appreciate every single one of you. And I hope you liked today's talk. Definitely check out the next one, which is going to be a lot more larger scale than what we did today. It's going to be full stack JavaScript apps. Cody, what do I think of Copilot? I think it's fantastic. It's done, surprisingly, it's helped me not write so much code. It can guess really well. Jimmy B, thanks so much for saying that. I appreciate that. I hope this is a good, I guess, early video on your journey. I know you're going to go and do some awesome stuff. Tomas, that's a bigger question than I have time for, unfortunately. Full stack Vue and Laravel. I am not entirely sure what the stack is going to be. Not sure yet, but something similar to that. Vue, Laravel, there will be a backend, there will be a front end. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for the questions. Thanks so much for joining in chat. Again, appreciate you all. Thanks for making this a fantastic Wednesday. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. See you, everybody. Have a good one.